Hey guys, welcome back to my channel for an all new episode recap of today's Days of Our Lives, March 18, 2025. So we start off with Marlena and Steve, right? So they're in Washington, D.C. to confront Shane about the whereabouts of John. Over the months, he has been off the camera, off the soap opera for a while. We already know in real life what it is, but they're just getting to that point in the soap opera, trying to get to that scene, right? So they're there to confront Shane, and they're hopefully, he will give them some answers because at this point, Marlene is frustrated, as understood, that she really wants to know what happened to her husband, right? So Stephanie has a bad dream of Joy coming over to their place and with pregnant Billy and all saying where's her baby daddy, and Stephanie wakes up and Alex asks her what's going on. So she said she had a bad dream of Joy actually being pregnant, and coming over to the place. So Alex said, it's just a bad dream. Remember, Joy came over the night before and told us that she's not pregnant, and we just need to move on from this. I'm really glad that it worked out this way so that we can really focus on our relationship. So Stephanie is reassured that regardless of what the situation is, Alex is committed to her, and that if it was even true, he would still do his obligation as a father, taking care of Joy and the baby, but he will be committed to her regardless of whatever else is happening. So I'd like to say, Stephanie, you know, you can't pinch yourself on this one because Joy is actually pregnant and she is carrying Alex's child, right? So, anyways, they do what they do in their bed, and Alex wanted to spend some more time in bed, but Stephanie said no, she has to go to a meeting with her mom about the fundraiser and all that, and Alex don't want to be extra late for his second day of work, right? So he's there saying, oh, I think I should be fine because now I'm in the inner circle with Xander and Philip. And, Stephanie has a flashback of what happened with her and Philip, and, her keeping this secret and, it potentially affecting her relationship later on. So, of course, she's feeling guilty about that. But, anyways, they get ready to go about their business, right? So, Teresa is on the phone trying to reach her father to see what's going on with John as well. So she's not getting through to him, and then she said, I wonder how you're not getting back through to me, and maybe you don't want to deal with me at this moment. So Xander comes in on that and he says, not surprised, you bring out that in all of us. So of course, she is trying to, make a beeline for the next way, and Xander just comes up and said, like, what are you even doing here? So she said, like, I didn't know you were hall monitor of the Salem Square. Like, I can walk about as I please. So he said, you know what I mean? Like, how come you're released? So she said, oh, so you're a hall monitor and investigator. Like, I have no cuffs on me, I don't have the monitor, whatever it is. So he said, I need to call the police. Maybe your father pulled some strings. So she said, no, none of that. I was released on good behavior. So he's surprised at that. Like, he can't believe that happened. And he said, after all you've done to me, like you kidnapped my daughter, and she's trying to justify herself by saying it wasn't like a whole 24 hours. So he's like, yeah, she was gone like for the duration of a commercial break. It doesn't matter. Like, you abducted my child, and I can't forgive you for that. And you try to steal my birthright from me. And of course, she's saying, she's acting as if it's not, she's acting all nonchalant about it, like it doesn't matter. And I just can't stand it about Teresa, right? She doesn't care. So anyways, she heard about him and Philip working together. So he's like, imagine I, was responsible for that, but now you have to share that with Philip. So how is that going? So he's like, regardless of what you want to feel like, we're working well together. We complement each other. And unlike you, the letter is actually 100% legit. So she said, are you sure about that? So I said, I'm 100% sure. And I said, poor Xander, you don't even know half of it. So anyway, she says to him that, okay, I'm surprised to hear that and all that, right? So anyways, I guess he was about to leave because at this point, like, he's gotten tired of her. So she said, for what it's worth, I'm sorry for what happened. So he's like, do me a favor, just stay away from me, my family, and we'll be good, right? So she's like, crystal clear. So Roman is trying to get through to Johnny, and he couldn't get through, so he left a voicemail saying how sorry he is that he had to find out from Kate and not him. He just couldn't go through with telling him the full truth, and he's just worried about him. So Kayla is there, and Kayla can see that he's upset. She asked him what's going on. So he said, "Little family drama, but I can't really get into the full extent of it right now." So, anyways, he sits down and he's there to help her with the fundraising activities, and she is happy for him to be there. And he's like, "How come I didn't get signed up for the the bachelor thing?" So she said, "You know, last time I checked, you're not an eligible bachelor, and Kate would not approve of that." So I said, "You're probably right." So, anyways, he asks how everything is going, and if she's okay, she can manage it all because she's also has a day job there. So she said, it keeps me fully motivated. And he's like, "Yeah, you don't have to think about what's going on with John and Steve and Marlena." So she said, "Yeah, I can't lie, I'm worried about what's going on there. And I feel for Marlena, because if it was me, like, I don't know how I'd feel if somebody really called me with distressing news that my husband is not coming back to me and my family. Like, I've been through that with Steve, and it messed up our relationship for a bit. Like, when he went out with Chad to confront Clyde, and almost didn't tell me. And he promised not tell me about where he's going. But I also asked him if he could stop being a hero for once and just stay low, just relax. And he just can't help himself. So Roman says, "Look, you and my sister Kimberly, like, you both married ISA ages. This is what comes with the territory, right?" So he's just hoping that Marlena and Steve can really get some answers from Shane, and once they're united front, like, nothing can stop them or get in their way. So he's just also worried about John, and hopefully everything works out well, right? So at some point she did say she was meeting Stephanie for a PR meeting, and Stephanie came in, and Philip comes in as well, and of course it's always awkward between him and Stephanie. So Philip is asking Roman about where his mom is, and he said that she's on a trip to Chicago, to meet with his sister Cassie. So he said, okay, he asked Stephanie to go, have a quick chit chat, right? So they leave, and Roman and Kayla are there talking, and Kayla said, at least we have solid kids, because if that didn't happen, Steve would be here and not, all over the world doing what he did. So Roman disagrees, and Roman said, look where Stephanie's dated, like Alex Kyriakis, like everywhere he goes is always some drama. So Steve and Marlena go to Shane. Shane was on the phone with somebody talking about some bad news, and he doesn't want it to go out to the public before he speaks to the folks. I'm assuming that it's about John. So at that point, he had to abruptly end the call because Marlena and Steve, they're there, and they just want some answers. So Shane was upset of them barging in to a federal office like that, and knowing that he could just pull out his gun on them for security reasons. So anyways, Marlena saying, like, this is not a social visit or anything like that. I really want to know what's going on with my husband's whereabouts. So Shane said, "I already told you that we can't find any information about where he is, and some things are really classified as Steve. You should already know how that is." So Steve understands. He's like, he's not asking him his direct location, he just wants to know where he was last seen so they can do their own investigation. And Marlena is pleading with him and saying that, listen, like, he's missed at home as a grandfather, father, husband, all of that. And if you're not gonna help me, like, I'm gonna find a way to bring him home to us, right? So at some point Shane budges, and he says, he was last seen in Estonia. So Steve is asking him if there's anything else he wants to tell him. He said, "That's all I can give you at the moment," right? So anyways, Marlena said, "I guess that's good enough." So they leave, right? So Shane is just there, he has a phone on the desk. I'm assuming again it's about John. And Teresa, he called back Teresa because Teresa was calling him back. And he was saying that, "I'm sorry, I got tied up. I just really have some bad news." So I'm saying, if he's gonna tell Teresa that before he tells the relatives first, then that's really messed up. So earlier, Joy was at the office, and she's looking at her pregnancy results, and she's wondering if she did the right thing, not telling Alex straight up from the beginning, right? So Philip barges in, of course, he doesn't understand timing at all. So he comes in asking her what she has hiding. So she said she did, I guess she did a blood drive earlier. And he's like, oh, I understand why you're so jumpy. So, anyways, she tells him that, she got him some breakfast. He's impressed at her work ethic and how, she's been there organizing things in advance for him. And he appreciates her being here. And she appreciates being here. She just has, I guess she's still uneasy about working there, and everything that happened with Alex, it being awkward, right? So he's saying you shouldn't worry about that at all. And it is what it is with that. Like, you shouldn't feel bad for taking a job because of how other people are feeling. Like, and she also feels bad about the whole thing, Johnny Chanel and her being the town pariah for a few months. And he's like, listen, Johnny acted bad on his marriage by, doing what he did with you. Like, it's not your fault. And also, the whole thing with Alex, like, Alex was not mature enough to really handle the situation with you. And, you deserve better than that, right? So, um, anyways, she was about to blurt out something, but he said, oh, I think I know what it is. You still have feelings for him. So she's like, no, 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 it's not that. So he's like, come on now. Like, you shouldn't let that come in the way of you working here. And, Alex, I believe Alex knows how to work with an ex in a workplace situation. Just go talk to him and, like, iron things out, right? So, as expected, Teresa has another run in with Alex, and Alex is surprised to see her out. And he's like, Teresa, you're released. So she said, "No, if you're gonna, dump on me like Xander did earlier, like, I can't deal with another one." So he's like, no, I'm just, surprised to see you out. And listen, like, all that happened last year, I'm not really happy with it, but I'm not upset with you at this point. Like, I'm happy. I'm back together with Stephanie. So she's like, I'm surprised that, you're back with her, and, Kiriakis men know how to keep it in the family, huh? So anyways, she said, sorry for that day and all that. I just trying to, pity myself and all that. And that's the only thing I can't stand with Teresa. Like, apart from her scheming ways, she tends to be this victim character a lot, and I really can't stand it. Even earlier with Xander, she was saying that, okay, um, you know, at least you have fat investment or inheritance, and I'm left with really nothing. Like, why should Xander pity you? Like, you brought this upon yourself. Like, you keep doing this. I hate when people do this to themselves and then they go, have this sob story. Nobody cares. So, anyways, back to these two, right? So, anyways, Alex wishes her well, and surprisingly, it went well. He wishes her well, and he wishes that she does learn from her mistakes, because he has done his fair share of mistakes. He had a relationship problem earlier in the year, and he wish he handled it better. And you know he's just moving forward, and he just wishes the best for Teresa. So it was definitely maturely handled. So earlier, remember that Philip and Stephanie said that they were going to talk privately. So they're at the square, and Stephanie's like, what do you want? So he said, how are things with Alex? And she said things are good with Alex. Alex seems to like his new job, and he's fitting in well. So he's good. He's happy to hear that. He wants to really talk to her about, just keeping quiet about this whole secret, and, not messing up Alex's life or Xander or anybody involved. Like, he is a co-CEO, and, he has shareholders, employees to really protect. And it would be disastrous if that came out. So she's like, oh, this is what you brought me here for. Don't worry, I'll keep your secret. I know that if it came out, it would destroy a lot of lives. So don't worry, it's our little secret. So at this point, Xander is over, in the corner, eavesdropping on that last part, about them keeping a secret. So I don't know what's gonna come off that, but I am so eager for this secret to come out, and how he's gonna handle that, especially knowing that Sarah kept it from him all this time. I am so ready for this to come out. So Joy is there by herself at office, and she's talking to her unborn child and saying, what do you think? Should we tell Alex about what's going on? So anyways, Alex comes in, and he's asking her where Philip is, so she said that he's out, and He just wanted to, he's glad he run into her because he wants to apologize for how he took the news that she wasn't quote unquote pregnant and how he and Stephanie reacted to it. And he felt that, they should have been a lot more sensitive to what she's going through, and she's been through a lot. So she understands and she's okay with it. So, anyways, Alex said that since Philip is not here, he'll just leave. So Joy stops him from leaving and says, Alex, there's something that I need to tell you. So at this point, I don't think I have enough hopes that she would straight up tell him that she's carrying his child, because I don't see why Joy must feel squeamish or scared about how Alex and Stephanie gonna react. At the end of the day, it was way before Stephanie and him come back together. Not like, it was a cheating situation. It is what it is. Like, just be honest, because at the end of the day, you're going to show at some point. You and Alex work in this close proximity. You're going to start showing, and then he is going to put it together to think, okay, the timeline and all, it's his child. Like, what are you trying to do? Like, you're not going to terminate the pregnancy. So what are you doing? But that was it, guys. Don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to my channel. I will see you guys tomorrow for an all new recap.